podcast. I hope y'all are doing well. I hope you guys are doing okay. And I'm excited to talk on this podcast today because today I'm going to talk about how I became an introvert and then turn into an extrovert. Okay, it's very possible and it happens. Okay, and I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would ever be an extrovert. I never imagined. But here we are in 2026. Here we are. So I want to start off with a little backstory, okay? I want to start off with my childhood. I was very outgoing, okay? I was that girl, okay? I will say that. Like, I think I was the type of girl who would talk to anyone, want to know everything about everyone, want to have fun with everyone, was just open, you know, and like curious about the world. And just wanted to have fun, okay? I was the kid at the party that was always dancing with random ass people, you know? When my song came on, I'd run to the dance floor and I'd start dancing because that was my song, you know? And yeah, that's just always who I was. I was always someone who was very expressive as a child. Like, I don't know, center of attention. I always liked cracking jokes, like laughing with people. For me, that was the funnest thing in this whole world, and being able to connect with people and like laugh with them and have fun. I just loved that about my childhood, and I loved being that way because honestly, I had the best time. Okay, you guys, I had the best time. There wasn't really any type of restrictions on me that I created within myself or anything. And I loved interacting with people, and that was just my thing, okay? I grew up older. So, I obviously went through some things, some trauma, okay? If you guys don't know, I was sexually abused as a child. Physically, like a little bit of domestic violence was going on with me. And it was just a lot, you know, my parents weren't aware of it. It was just a lot happening. And because of it, I developed PTSD. Now my PTSD has gotten way better, thank God. But it took a lot of time, a lot of effort for me to get to the point where I'm at now. And I thank myself today. But that really put a hold on me, okay? It had a big hold on me. It took over my life, and I just shut down after that. I think it was around the age probably 10-ish, 9-ish that I just began changing. I think that it took a lot of me for me to talk to people, be expressive, feel like myself. I think there was certain times where myself would come out, where I would kind of like take on challenges or like, you know, do fun things, but then I would hide back into my shell because I just felt a lot of fear, I guess. And after that, like, it's just home life, you know, home life happens, and I was just very terrified of people. I was just very scared. I just thought, I had this perception that people were aggressive, like they had power over me or control over me for some reason, and like didn't like me, thought I was annoying, thought the worst of me. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna like be open to this. I don't want to be open to this. I just want to hide in my shell. And I had friends in school, thankfully, thank God. I don't feel afraid to take up space, to be bold, to say what's on my mind, especially when trying to make friends. I think that's the time that you need to be yourself, that you need to like those intrusive thoughts, maybe say them out loud to see like who actually has that same sense of humor as you, or who like actually gets you, you know? And like I said, you guys, like as a kid, I was like, even in my friend group, right? Because when I lived in California, I had friends that I would play with, okay? That I, like at home, my little sister, Juanita, she's like 2 years, actually, she's a year and 11 months younger than me, okay? This girl, like, legit, she had ADHD, like, she was diagnosed, like, but like at another level, okay? She was like, I have ADHD and I'm diagnosed, but she was like like at like a high level, okay? Like when we were at home, this girl did dumb ass shit, like got ran over by a car and like would break glass, and very fearless, my sister. Like whatever popped into her mind, she'd be like, you know what, let's just do it. And like to basic living, I just had so much fear. And my mom even told me that when I was little, I was scared of everything, like puddles. Like I just thought the worst things would happen at all times. And it was just like because of that trauma that I went through. Also like the domestic violence that I experienced from family members. I just thought people were gonna hurt me. Things were gonna feel very painful. And during that time, my mom was like the safest space, but I was still terrified. So I just grew up with that fear, and that kind of made me like more introverted, more to myself. And I, in a sense, created a world inside of my head where I just felt safe. It was like my own inner world where no one else existed but me, and I felt like secure, I felt safe, I felt like no one could hurt me. And I lived internally inside of myself instead of the real world. And I was very disconnected from the present. I would just kind of imagine like things being differently than they actually were. That's what I think. That's why I had not a lot of friends, or I wouldn't talk to a lot of people, because I wasn't really like in the present. So it's like when you're not in the present, it's harder to connect with people. It's harder to see what's in front of you. I also think you can grow, right? You can grow even if you're an introverted person and you're more internal. For me, it was a lot of time of growth. It was a lot of time that I could spend getting to know myself and my inner thoughts and my inner feelings, and yeah, all those things. And I still, like till this day, I have the opportunity to hear myself and learn from myself, and I adore it and I love it. I spend a lot of time on my own, so I am with myself more, like majority of the time, more than with anybody else, and that gives me the opportunity to kind of tap into my inner world and know myself to a very good level, which I'm so grateful for and so thankful for. But I've kind of been in that same world or headspace, I guess, since a child, because I was not very outgoing. I was not very tapped into the external world, I guess I would say. So yeah, and like I said, I think that when I would go to school as a kid, I mean, I loved going to school because I had my group of friends, or later on, I had my best friend. And like, for me, I know this is gonna sound shitty, but I just love going to school to hang out. Now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I only had friends that were girls growing up. I don't know why. Even boys made me feel uncomfortable. Like, I just didn't want to be around them. I don't know why. And there was some nice boys in the world. Like, I'm trying to think if I ever... Yeah, I was never friends with boys. Yeah, I really wasn't. I just didn't like them. But girls, I felt so safe with. And like, it's because y'all don't get it. Like, if you're not a girl, you don't get it. When you get to a bond with a girl, or like your group of friends that are girls, you just feel so understood, like to another level. It's like they know how your brain works. They know your feet, like they know you, and they know how you operate. And when you're friends with a guy or a boy, well, I was young, you know, they didn't know, you know, like they didn't get it. And they weren't into the same shit that I was into. Like, I was always maybe if I was more of a tomboy, but I was always a very like girly girl, you know. I loved like Rebelde, if you guys don't know, that was one of the most popular like soap operas of all time in Spanish in Mexico. And my friends that were girls, they were into that shit. Like, we'd talk about that shit, do the rehearsals for that shit. Like, you're gonna be Mia, you're gonna be Roberta, and you're gonna be Lupita, and you're gonna sing this part, and we're gonna perform. We're gonna perform for the neighborhood. Like, you know, like, they got it. Like, they knew. And if I talk to a boy about Rebelde, they'd be like, yeah, my sister watches that, but I don't watch that. I can't relate to you. Like, I don't know what the fuck, like, you don't get me, you know, like, you don't get the shit that I'm into. I was also the type of girl, like, my sister, she got this fucking, my dad, he would buy us whatever we wanted as kids. I don't know why. He spoiled the shit out of us. That was his way, okay, of saying, I love you guys. Appreciate you, Dad. And he bought this fucking, like, my sister's like, I want this. And so it was like a big box of makeup from Toys R Us, okay? And so we had a ball with that kid, okay? We looked like fucking clowns. But, like, you know, like, we fucking painted our faces. She did a blue eyeshadow look on me, red lips, you know, like, dolled up. I had my princess, like Cinderella princess heels, walk out. Other girls in the neighborhood saw us. They come to our place. And then we all play with the kid. We all do makeovers. Like, do you see, and a guy, unless he was a gay king, a boy wouldn't be open to that, so they didn't get it. I know I'm going on a tantrum here, but they didn't, like, tantrum. Yeah, they didn't understand that. You know, there was, yeah, I would just get bullied all the time because I had a lot of body hair. So people, I remember one time this guy's like, you have a lot of hair and shit like that. And then some other guy said I had a camel toe. So that, you know, like, shit about my body and about the way I looked, which is shitty, but that kind of, like, was the icing on the cake, kind of shut me down. And then I had issues with teachers where, like, they just thought I was, like, kind of like a piece of, they made me feel like I was like a piece of shit, that I wasn't gonna amount to anything, and that, you know, because of my behavior, which honestly, I've been a teacher before, and that's not really how you are supposed to make students feel. Usually if a student's acting out, what I would do is I would try to, like, talk to them and see what's going on, because I always felt it was something deeper. But a lot of people in higher education don't really care to do that. They're just like, you're being a burden to me, so behave. Not what's going on. You're a child and you're behaving out of the norm. And you're a child who's like a sponge who observes everything. So, like, what is going on? Because, you know. But yeah, that was kind of like the icing on the cake. And then I was caught with, I was caught doing drugs, you know, and drinking alcohol at the age of 13. So my parents were like, you know, you're grounded for the rest of your life, basically. And they would take me to my bus. Like, I wasn't able to be alone. And I just felt a lot of shame, even though I was like, there's a deeper reason why I was doing all of that. And I think I was just trying to cope with all the unhappiness that I felt. That kind of, like, shut me down to the max. And I just, like I said, lived in my inner world, wasn't really talking to anybody, trying to make friends, trying to do anything. I became very introverted. And honestly, I just enjoyed being on my own. Like, I was like, yeah, no one can hurt me if I'm in my own space, in my own head, in my own world. And so that's just how I lived. And I would get my energy from being alone. Like, I would just watch TV and sleep and eat a lot of snacks and reflect on my own. Like, maybe later on, doing more drugs, drinking, just kind of my own space, in my own world, in my own inner thoughts. Obviously, had my best friend, would talk to her, one of the few people that I would ever talk to, my sisters, my cousins, but besides that, I wasn't really talking to anybody else. And I just kind of gained energy being alone. Later on, thankfully, I became sober at age 21. And I started using different coping mechanisms. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing drugs anymore. And so I started, what's it called? I started going on walks. Going on walks have been my favorite coping mechanism. That has been my thing. Writing has been my thing. Relaxing, taking naps, watching TV, doing stuff like that. And I still love being alone. I cherish that time so much because during that time, I'm able to reflect. I'm able to think about, you know, like what's important to me. Where do I want to go next? How do I feel about myself? Things like that. I think being alone is actually a precious time where you're able to just spend time with yourself. I wouldn't change it for the world. But once I turned 22 years old, something began to shift. And so, like I said, my belief with people, it wasn't the greatest, but I got a full-time job, right? I booked a job in a recruitment office at a college when I was 22 years old. And it was a very small department at the time. We only had like a few recruiters during the time. So sometimes I would have to do recruiting roles. Sometimes I would have to go and do presentations and go talk to people. And that kind of opened my eyes to, one, wanting to do more volunteer work, because I saw in my community there was a lot of people that were needing help. And I was like, that opened my eyes. And then two, it opened my eyes to seeing that a lot of people, even most people, I would argue, are not evil. Like, I had this perception people are out to get me. They're here to make fun of me. They're here to like bring me down. That job opened my eyes, and I was like, yeah, no, people, I guess because of the role that I was in, maybe I saw a lot of people that were wanting to grow, a lot of people that were wanting to connect and were wanting to make change in their life, and that weren't afraid to ask for help, needed help. And for me, that kind of changed my perspective on people. It was like I was experiencing a lot of different groups of people, and for me, beautiful people, you know. It wasn't, I think when you're a kid, at least from my perspective, I felt like I didn't have a lot of power, and the adults in my life during that time had a lot of power over me. And it felt like my world was them, and that felt like, that kind of like overtook me, and I wasn't able to kind of expand my horizon because I was a kid. But as an adult, I was able to expand my horizon and see all different types of people from all different types of backgrounds, all different types of groups. And the common thing that I saw is a lot of people want to feel seen, and that's all they want to feel heard, want connection, want love, you know. And that really shifted everything that perception that I had of humans. It shifted a lot. And so that just made me have like this desire and this curiosity of people, and wanting to talk to people and feeling energetic when interacting with people. And I think it's because it was, for me at least, real connection. Like, it was somebody wanting to grow, somebody wanting support, somebody like going maybe through a rough patch in their life, but still being strong enough to keep moving forward. Just seeing that for me was motivational enough to still want to keep connecting with people and wanting to be in space where there's a lot of people. So my old beliefs were kind of being challenged. And so that once again shifted everything. And from then on, like, I just became more extroverted. Now in my life, and even back then, I was like, yeah, I feel this need to like talk to people, wanting to make friends, it's like all those things that I wasn't able to do as a kid that I kind of hid in my shell for a long time. I had this desire to make friends and talk to people, but I just never did it because I was so scared and overwhelmed, and like I was in kind of survivor mode, and my survival mode was like holding myself, staying in a shell, and from then on, nobody could hurt me, nobody could do anything to me. But I still had that, I guess, inner desire or feeling to want to connect with people, and so I think that's why I'm more extroverted now. And I feel a need to like express who I am, even with the randomest people. I feel a need to like just be very outgoing because I have a lot of fun and I really enjoy it. And so these are like the different ways that I kind of helped myself not even become extroverted, but become who I really am. Which is extroverted in a sense, but it's not like I was aiming to like become extroverted as an introvert. I think I was aiming to become more confident, but in turn that made me an extrovert. But I think introverts can also be very, very confident, so I'm not saying that introverts can't be, but that kind of just shifted. I guess since I became more confident, I'm more extroverted now. I'm not an introvert anymore, but I think I was just an introvert out of fear. It wasn't who I actually was. But these are like the different things that helped me become who I am now, become who I wanted to be and who I always wanted to be. So I just thought back to my early childhood. I think that for me, that was my truest form. Obviously, I think kids are their truest form. I mean, when they're first, exploring the world, when they haven't been through too much, because there's some kids that automatically when they're born, they're already going through a lot. But for the kids that at the beginning don't go through a lot in their life, I think at the beginning of my life, I was very outgoing. I was very curious about people, about the world. I love dancing, singing, music, everything, TV, all the things. That I kind of tied it back to how I felt about connection during that time. As a kid, for me, connection was fun. It was joy. It was energy. I think when interacting with people, I felt a lot of energy as a kid. Like I felt very energetic. I felt very excited. My mom would always say that during the week, I was so excited for the weekend because at times during the weekend, my whole family would get together. And I would just talk about it during the week. Like, I'm so excited for this weekend. I'm excited to have all of our family together, to talk to everybody, to be able to interact. And family time is my favorite time and stuff like that. Like, I was just, for me, connection was energy and fun and joy. And I think that I try to apply that to my life now. I don't see connection as like a fearful thing anymore like I used to as a kid. I see it as an opportunity to have a lot of fun. So just kind of setting myself up in that mentality. I also feel like I have a love for people now. I don't think I had it for a long time. I was like, get me the fuck away from people. But even in my jobs, in my lifetime, I have been able to interact with people that have similar backgrounds to me, and I'm able to connect with them. We relate on something. And it's just, I mean, for me, it's beautiful. And I think a motivational factor for me to interact with people is my love for people. It's that I've always loved connecting with humans. And as a kid, it was just for fun. But as an adult, for me now, sometimes I'm friends with other adults because it's fun. Like we might not have like a lot of deep conversations, but I just like hanging out. Or I just like talking to them. Like, they're just fun. And that's totally, like, you need people that you just talk to for fun. Like, you're just, like, joking around and having the best time. But then there's also those people that you just talk to have a deeper connection. There's a deeper connection behind it, and you have a lot of depth in your relationship. It's more deep. And I also have love for those. Like, I have love for fun people. I have love for people that are deep. I have love for anybody that's just a good person. Like, I just love those people that, they have good intentions. They don't have anything, like, no hidden agenda, nothing. They're just being themselves. And I just love people like that, and I want to be able to be in the same space as them and interacting with them. That's it. And I also thought about why I was so shut down against the world and people. And I came to the conclusion that it was like my early incidents that caused me like anxiety and sadness, and the PTSD. Like I knew that was kind of like the root as to why I was so shut down and so fearful. But I knew that I still wanted friends, but fear lived inside of me basically, and I felt trapped in my own body. Like I just felt like I was in a jail for the rest of like my life, even though I never said it. I obviously externally you can't see when somebody feels trapped, but internally I just felt like I was in a jail cell that I wasn't able to get out of. I mean, I was living, but I wasn't actually letting myself live the way I wanted, and I would never allow myself to do that until I got help, thank God. But I mean, that's just kind of like the headspace that I was on. So, you know, it's kind of like getting to the root of it as to why, you know, and kind of understanding like, okay, this is why I feel this way, or this is why I'm behaving this way. And I asked myself like a real question, and this kind of happened years, probably like 2 or 3 years ago. Like, who am I? Like, who actually am I? And I think that I have the most fun when I am not reserved. I know that sounds crazy, but I think I have the most fun when I like ask crazy questions, I'm making a joke, when I'm connecting with people, when like I'm hearing other people's stories and what they think. I have so I'm like, why am I holding back? Like, why am I putting myself in this category that I'm not? Like, you know, like we love the girls that are reserved, okay? The girls that are in the corner. Oh my God, like I read for a living and I write, and like, y'all don't get me. I love those girls, like mysterious girls, you know, you see them in the corner. And let me tell you something, even though I'm more outgoing, like I said, I felt a need to also fulfill that curiosity and that curiosity in myself, okay? That feeling of, man, I just feel like running out into the world and just talking to everybody and just having a good time. And I'm just gonna follow that feeling. I don't care if anybody's like, you're fucking annoying, you're too much, you're loud, la la la. Like, okay, as long as I'm good with myself, I could give less of a shit. Like, I'm happy. And so I just want to run after that feeling and chase and have the funnest time. And so I think that when I was going through a transformation within myself years ago, I really was trying to reflect, and I asked myself, who do I see myself as? What do I see? Like, how do I see myself behaving, interacting with people? Like, how am I? I closed my eyes and I saw myself as someone who talks to people that they want to talk to, who expresses their ideas, who dives into what they're passionate about fully. That's just how I saw it. Confident, well-dressed, all the things. I'm not saying that I'm not well-dressed, but like my job doesn't really require me to be like in suits all the time, but I kind of saw myself like that, like in a suit for some reason. But besides the suit, everything else that I saw myself being, I am. And that's because like I pushed myself to be who felt the truest to me, who felt the rightest to me, and that's just how it went. I'm very happy with my life. I just have to say. I'm very happy and I'm very grateful that I pushed myself. And like I said, I put myself in situations that would push me out of my comfort zone. Some experiences were positive and some were not so positive. I just knew that it would help me grow in this area that at time I felt wasn't the strongest. Till this day, I still put myself in situations that are uncomfortable. I am going to be honest, I am someone who still struggles with the shell. Sometimes I still want to dig into that shell because it feels comfortable, and sometimes I still do. Sometimes I don't say anything, even if I disagree with something. Sometimes I don't advocate for myself. Sometimes I'm not confident. Sometimes I struggle with, for example, my weight. That's something that I've been struggling with. But, you know, I would say there's more good days than bad days. I will say that. And I had to really think about, like, okay, what makes me happy? You know, what do I want to do? And for me, you know, art makes me happy. Performing makes me happy. Networking, I just like interacting with people that have similar interests to me, that like doing the same shit as me, that, you know, all the things. I also think it's like important to focus on yourself, okay? It's like, this life is about you, okay? This is one thing that really helped me, is just focusing on me. Like, there's people in my life, I love them with all of my heart. I would jump in front of a bus for them, yes. Like, if a bus were coming toward us, I would jump for them because I love them. You know, like, they're my world, yes. But this life is just about me. Like, it's like whatever I want, that's what I get, that's what I do, sky's the limit, and that's just what I think. I think in the past I felt so afraid of, like, oh my god, what are people gonna think of me? Are they gonna judge me? Are they gonna say this? Are they gonna say that? And I think it kind of changed when I started doing music. That kind of perspective kind of started shifting, because something that I would hear my teachers or professors say all the time is that nobody cares. And it's true, nobody cares. Nobody, if somebody is hyper focused on you, they are the most insecure person in this world. But most people don't give a fuck. They're thinking about themselves, and that is the truth. So when you would go up there, I was a very anxious music student. I would sometimes freeze up in the middle of a performance. I'd be like, fuck this, and I would just leave the fucking stage, the fucking theater or whatever the fuck. But something that they would always tell me is, you could go up there, mess a piece up, you wouldn't know but yourself. And that's applicable to anything in life. You could be doing a presentation, mess something up, mess a word up, nobody would know, okay? Or you could go up there, mess up, make it noticeable, nobody's gonna care. If they're up next to present, they're not even going to be thinking about you. They're going to be thinking about their own presentation. That's it. Same thing in life, okay? You're like, man, I don't know if I should do this. What if people just... Yeah, people's lives don't revolve around you. And I wish that's something that I could have understood. But most people are not thinking about you, are not hyper analyzing you, are not... like, they're stuck in their own world. They've got bigger fish to fry, you know? They have their own life that they're living. So yeah, I just did music for like 2 years, and I was doing these recitals after a while. And even when I performed a couple years, when I was teaching and doing all the things, I was never anxious anymore, or as much as I used to be, because I'm like, nobody's gonna care. Yeah, nobody cares. Even if they're watching you, they're like, later on, they're gonna go back home, eat, shower, sleep. They're gonna forget what they even thought of you in that moment. So it's just, yeah, I'm like, nobody cares. So I might as well just like ride the wave and focus on myself and do what I want. It says here, I also came to the conclusion that life is about myself, and that I had to be myself to attract the right people, like I said. You know, if you're being yourself, like, you're gonna attract people in your life that make you feel good, that you feel energetic towards, that you're having a good time with, and people that actually align with you. And that, for me, became a really freeing thought and feeling, I guess. I'm like, I don't have to worry so much, like, you know, I'm not for everybody, and you're not for everybody, and that's okay, you know? That's just life. But the people that you are for, awesome, because you're being yourself. So it's good. And finally, something that really helped me, okay, you guys, and this is gonna sound crazy, but as a kid, I used to watch Sex and the City. That used to be my favorite show, as well as America's Next Top Model. Maybe I shouldn't have been watching that. But my parents were Mexican immigrants, so they didn't know English, so I could kind of get away with watching anything. And that was a good part for me, because I'd watch Family Guy. Like, they wouldn't know. Like, it would just be like, you're watching TV, cool. You keep watching these, like, 4 fucking white chicks on TV. Who cares? Yeah. So I'd put on Sex and the City. And growing up, my role model was Carrie Bradshaw, okay? I know. Everybody fucking hates Carrie, okay? I know in present time, everybody hates Carrie. But for me, like, I loved Carrie. And I don't think I was very focused on the plot of the story, like the love and her and Big's relationship. Now that I watch it, I see it, I'm like, oh, they were so bad for each other. But during the time, that's not really what grabbed my attention. What grabbed my attention was obviously her style, okay? And their style, everybody in that show had really good fashion sense, and I lived for it, okay? I loved it, and I loved Carrie's style. I loved her hair. I loved the way she dressed. I loved her sassiness. I loved her, like, walking down the street. Like, I live for that, and I want to be like that when I'm older. Something else that I loved about her was how social she was, okay? I loved how social she was. I think something that I loved about her, she had her 4 friends, right? Her 3 girlfriends, Charlotte, Miranda, and Miss the one, Samantha Jones, okay? Those were her 3 friends. But she also had other friends from different, like, walks of life, that thought differently, that weren't part of her friend group. And I just loved that. I loved that she was friends with different types of people, maybe people that wouldn't even fit into her social status or her friend group, or that didn't make sense, like this photographer that had, like, such a different, like, people with just so many, like, different perspectives that didn't sometimes align with hers. And it was just such a, like, different people than her and her friends and what she's used to. And I think I just love that about her. I loved how she was so open to, like, learn new perspectives or views, and I guess how she would sometimes apply that to her life. I just love that about her. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, and I think that I'm like, when I'm an adult, I want to be able to do that. One, I want to be able to dress fabulous, of course. Second part, I want to be able to be friends with people from all groups of, like, from all walks of life, and be able to learn from them, even if I don't agree with everything that they do or say. But yeah, I think Carrie Bradshaw was also a big turning point for me. And like I said, I don't want to miss out on opportunities of learning different walks of life, and honestly miss out on the fun. Because let's say one friend, like, honestly, I'm not a big clubbing type, but let's say I have a friend that really is into clubbing, and they're like, we need to go to this club because it's under a tunnel, and there's different types of art pieces, and they glow in the dark, and it's really cool to see at night. Yeah, I'm not clubbing every weekend, but fuck it, I'll go to this underground tunnel club. New experience, and I'm having the best fucking time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, they might not do the exact same things that I do, they might not have the exact same thoughts that I do, but, like, I'm experiencing, like, a new lens in life, and I love that, okay? So these are my final thoughts, and I'm gonna read this off my iPad. You know, where once you have an iPad, it's like you change, you know, like, you're a businesswoman now, like, I make millions, you know, type shit. Okay, final thoughts. Follow your heart and think of what feels real and true to you. Think of who you would want. Think of who you would be if all of your fears and worries did not exist. Close your eyes and see it, like you're stepping into a new world where everything you want is possible. Who do you see, and how do they behave? Follow that and try to apply that version of yourself into your life, and into the present. Take small and little steps that push you closer and closer to who you want to be. And I want to leave you guys with this mantra that I wrote, okay, a mantra / little poem. I like to do that now with every podcast episode. Who you are is beautiful, a canvas with colorful strokes. Black paint eventually covered that beautiful blues and pinks that were created inside of you. Hold your heart in your hands. Listen to that voice that is as light as a grain of sand. Hold it with strength and power. No one can take away your pride and honor. Thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate you. And I hope you guys have the best day ever.